Dick, you are appointed clerk. Will you take a roll call, please?
Nora, here. Dick, here. John.
Here.
Titania, absent. Jennifer.
Here.
Joel, absent. Jim.
Present.
Yeah.
Proof of notice.
It's listed in the agenda.
Approval of the agenda.
I'll move.
Motion by Norm, second by Jim. Any questions on the agenda? Norm?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0-2. Citizens' comments? Resolution 1920-146, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Jenny, second by Jim. Questions on the minutes? Jenny?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried 5-0-2. Resolution 1920-147, approval of regular semi-monthly bills.
So moved.
Motion by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Nora. Questions on the bills? Hearing none. Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 5-0-2. Dick, any communications?
Not that I seen.
Okay.
Nope.
FFA report?
Hi, I'm Stacia Harmon, the Mayville FFA president. On January 29th, the Parley Pro team advanced from the district contest to the sectional contest. And then Hunter Elvis, who competed in discussion, made it to finals in district but did not advance to sectionals. And then Vernon Franke and Tanner Hansen did extemporaneous speaking, and they have not gotten the results back yet. And then this month we have FFA week from February 22nd to the 29th, and there is a committee that will decide what activities we do for that week. And then next Monday we have our annual chapter meeting where the alumni comes to our meeting and we vote on the upcoming officer team. And then some of the alumni members present like their jobs and how it's incorporated in FFA and like try and get other students involved. And then on March 1st we have our breakfast. And then on March 9th we have our banquet at school. And then on March 18th we have our sectional contest for Parley Pro. And that's all I have.
All right.
What's that?
So quickly.
Yeah, great. We're looking at scholarships tonight.
Any committee reports? Administrative report.
All right. I'm short. We had the WSB convention, January 22nd through January 23rd. I thought maybe, Jenny, if you wanted to offer anything, thoughts about the convention. I know Dick went as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a great convention. Obviously, it was my first time there. The keynote speakers were outstanding and had some great big picture thoughts on education. And a couple of the themes that came through loud and clear is that, you know, we as parents, as educators, as communities are preparing kids for a world that will be vastly different from the one that we grew up in, and that kids need to be engaged, their voices need to be included in the process, and that they need real world opportunities. I also went to a couple really interesting sessions that talked about how some districts have dealt with some very challenging things. I was in one, the district that Jamie Kloss was from. They talked about how they managed that as a district. And also Baraboo, how they handled their viral photo incident last year. And so there were really good takeaways for school boards and leaders. A big part of it is establishing relationships with other people in the community before you need them. And then there was another very interesting one about providing mental health services to students and various ways school districts have managed to bring mental health providers into the school so that students aren't necessarily having to leave to go out and miss half a day to get services.
Stuff like that's a challenge for rural communities.
Mhm.
When we did like a Dodge County report last year, that actually came up as the lack of healthcare opportunities for people to access in their local community. So, because there's a big driving distance in order to get that kind of.
And there's a lack of providers
Mhm.
in the area.
So even with that, trying to have a push-in relationship, we don't have a lot of places that we go to. So what you see happening is telemedicine, telemental health stuff. It's actually included in our benefits now. It's just
good.
Amwell, you can do that. So, but trying to figure out how to have that type of service and support during the school day, I think all schools are really looking at that.
And I believe the delegates were talking about mental health as well, and that there was a big,
Right, that fast. Right.
yeah.
I think the conversation needs to, as a society, we need to really be careful with, even when we use mental health. I think we had talked, like, if we were to say brain health, that would be one thing. You say mental health, and they think, uh-oh, something's wrong. Mental health, there's a stigma that goes with the word.
Emotional well-being,
Right, mindfulness.
emotionally healthy.
So, right,
Yeah.
emotional health, exactly, versus mental health. We just it automatically goes, there must be something wrong, because we're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
No, mental health, if you're being proactive, there's so much positive
Right.
that you can do.
Right.
So I think just, as we discuss that, we're also discussing about limited resources at a county level that over and over we're faced with. But you take care of the overall mental well-being of others, then learning can occur.
Right. So there's a lot that we can do as individuals, as a school district, as educators in schools, to support the emotional well-being of our children and adults. There's a lot we can do.
Actually, that fits into, for me, one of the pieces I wanted to share is that we have another round, there's members of our leadership team that are going on February 12th down to Racine to Character Strong. It's a character education program. Because when you had referred to the incident at Baraboo, and I've reached out to some friends who are a part of that. Their superintendent, I've known her now for 15 years. She's a personal friend of mine. We're on a planning committee together at WASDA stuff. And we talked about that too. And just really what it comes down to, what's your core? What are you all about? Because are you reacting to things, or are you creating a foundation? Because we just don't do that here, right? So with character strong, character education, we think that's a great place. Just as universal, no, this is who we are. This is what we're all about. We have signs in the buildings that, be the I am kind.
I like
So we're really
those.
talking a lot about, let's be kind, let's do right by others, and develop that norm, that expectation. So that's where we're headed. And so we have reached out to them, and the price per workshop is supposed to be around $300. We have 4 of us that are attending for free, which is great. And we are planning to do our own full-day workshop here in Mayville with Character Strong. So that's why they were willing to give us our free event. So that was awesome. The 28th, last week, Becky was there in the beginning, and then I stepped in after that. The Dolly Parton Book Drive celebration was down at the public library, and it was a great event. Laura Honish did a wonderful job speaking and advocating for literacy with youth, and I just appreciate her passion for that. There were other community groups that were there as well, so it was a nice event. And so I'm sure the start of it's going to be kind of slower, but just people need to promote it and talk about it. You just have to have a child born in the Mayville zip code, Mayville City zip code, and up through the age of 5. And once they register, they get a book every month then for up through the age of 5.
As of last Wednesday morning, there are 80.
Oh,
It's like huge.
great,
Hey, that's
great,
really
great.
good for
That's a
just starting.
big push. That's awesome. That's great to hear. The big Rotary event that they had was Saturday, January 25th, very popular, huge turnout. It was a lot of fun for me too, just to see community members, and it was super positive. We had the Hall of Fame, and I'm sure Lee and Nubby and Dick, they were there as well. That was on Friday, January 31st. Tom and Beth helped to organize that, and it was wonderful. Just super positive. I really appreciated the community. The recipients actually had a chance to go on a tour of the building after they stayed through halftime of the basketball game, and just time and time again, they talked about how fortunate the students were to be in a building like that. And it's about relationships, right? The education's about relationships. It's about our curriculum. It sure is nice to have a facility that reflects what we're all of our goals and initiatives that we have here. So
That tour was greatly appreciated because I heard about it in church on Sunday as well, so.
Big Sig Shecker was the tour guide there. Today I had the Dodge County Schools and our emergency management services. We meet twice a year. We met today at the jail, actually, is where we met. So we're supposed to be at the Dodge County Courthouse, and the room was double booked, so we met at the jail. So we discussed just our school emergency operations plan, what the basis of it all is, and then we have adopted Run, Hide, Fight. That's embedded into our plan. And that is a model, Run, Hide, Fight. Well, there's another model out there called Alice, and they're very similar. Well, adopting Alice actually requires a yearly fee that goes along with it, and like a certification to do that. So there are some schools that have adopted Alice. They send out communications, we do Alice, and this is what it means, and Alice is an acronym. Okay? So, but today we kind of laid it out there to say, if you're in Dodge County School, all of us are embracing using the Run, Hide, Fight language, and that fits well with our school emergency operations plan. The next piece of that is that we're working with Life Touch. They're collecting they're going to be donating some time and energy, and then we're probably paying about $1.50 a student to create a video series, professional video series that articulates our plans. It'll be targeted for elementary age students, the middle school students, and high school, as well as parents and faculty. So there'll be 5 different videos that they're making and tailored to help explain what is a lockdown, what does it mean to run, hide, fight, and just to kind of be more proactive about it. And the goal is that these videos last. It's not like for a year. We're trying to have it be all of Dodge County schools are welcome to be there. So we have some of our students acting in them, as well as using up the building for a portion of it, one of our buildings. So it's we're trying to do it, it's all Dodge County helping with that. We are working on coordinating a tabletop activity where emergency management comes and works with us in a non-crisis situation, going through our resources, bringing the fire department, first responders, police department, our local people all in one spot. So we're going to plan to do that before school is out, and we'll be bringing our school emergency operation plan teams from each building in order to do that too. So that'd be great, because you work the kinks out there and make sure that everybody just understands how to use all of our resources. So that was some past activities coming up. This Friday is a legislative breakfast and PAC meeting in Oshkosh. And then February 17th, that's the same day as the next board meeting. That is kind of a standing day where we are working with CISA 6 to coordinate a full-scale professional development workshop, where we can get speakers in that are more on the expensive side, and we all have a chance to go and visit them. So when I say that, like $1,500 a day, but we really only need to see them for an hour or 2. So then everybody gets access to these presenters, and we choose our workshops. So this year they have an app for that, and we're all hopefully are registered and set to go. We will provide a bus to take staff. We're at Campbellsport this year. Last year we were at Slinger. So, and then you have a board meeting on the 17th. So time goes by fast. Groundhog had good news for all of us. Weather's going to cooperate at least for the next 10 days from what I saw here. Spring is not springing yet. You can see the cold weather's coming back. But we've done well so far.
Yes.
Right? everybody in the back, he was like, he said it again, he talked about it. Not everybody does it. So that'd be it for my update.
Okay, thanks. Great, Tom, you want to give us an athletic update?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I got a couple things to report about. As many of you may already know, Campbell Sport High School is joining the Flyway in football only for next year. And Campbell Sport High School has applied for a realignment process to join the Flyway in all sports. And that would be not for next year, but the following year. Their first attempt with the WIA was rejected. They appealed, and then they were successful. Now the East Central Conference, the current conference that they're in, they're appealing to keep them in. So that's going to happen this month, and then in March, the WIA Board of Control is going to make one final recommendation, and it is my belief after they voted 16-0 in favor of Campbellsburg joining us, that no matter what the East Central Conference says they're going to
What
come.
size is our high school now?
Their high school?
Yeah.
They're about 428.
Yeah, see, that's so different. They used to be, so I was an EWC principal and an
Mhm.
ED in EWC.
Yeah.
And they used to be in the high 500s.
Yeah.
In my building back in the day, our building there was like in 600s.
So what year did they drop out?
Enrollment change.
Oh, I'm going to defer that question to Mr. Zarnak. Preview.
They used to be
Pretty
here.
close.
Yeah.
I know my son played, we played
Yeah.
against Campbell Sport.
Yeah.
When all was that, Flyway, 05, 06?
Yeah, that,
We always played it, and we had beautiful rivalry in basketball there.
It's been at least 15 years ago.
Yeah, when I-
Not then.
when I coached here the first time in 05, we played Campbellsport in non-conference games back then. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But the little history behind that, the WIA gave the WFCA, the Football Coaches Association, the ability to create 17 conference or 18 conferences for football only. And we, being an odd number conference, they added Campbell Sport to us. So every football conference has the same level playing field. And it only made sense that Campbell Sport wanted to join us, and everybody has. They play most of us on a regular basis in the non-conference. Travel times is much better for them. They are one of the smaller, if not the smallest school in the East Central. So it all kind of made sense for their kids and their school to come join us. And I believe it's going to happen, but we'll find out in early March. So I just wanted to give you an update about
So you said they would for the next season, next year?
football. They're in for next year already. But if the realignment proposal goes through in March, like I anticipate it will, knock on wood, I'd love to have them join us. That won't be for next year, but that'll be for 21-22 to come in all sports.
Who'd we lose?
We lost Kelly Lutheran a while ago, which created us down to a 17 conference, which has created a whole bunch of problems for the Flyway. For example, the football team has had to travel to Auburndale, to Pittsfield to find a non-conference game in the middle of the season. Our basketball programs, our bye week falls on Fridays, so we lose a lot of Friday night basketball games. So while everybody else is playing on Friday nights, we have a bye. And it is virtually impossible to find a non-conference game on a Friday night. So those were the challenges that we had as our high school to try to fill in our games. And, yeah,
The distance alone
yeah,
is the reason why that passed 16-0.
yeah.
When you looked at them,
Yeah.
Campbell Sport being in our conference versus the one they're in, it's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah, they got to go to Plymouth, to Wapond, Ripon, to Berlin, Winneconne.
There's no chance of any other schools dropping the football program, you know.
Not at the present time.
At the present, you gotta worry about it.
Yeah, North Atlantic has got decent lower level numbers, and they seem to be coming along pretty well.
Good.
So we look pretty solid as far as all of the sports are concerned to have teams and such, so. So I wanted to give you an update on Campbell Sport with the little flyway. Can't believe I just had a fly. Old habits are hard to break. And then I wanted to share with you a little bit about tennis, girls tennis. We've been an independent for tennis in the last few years. We usually have in the mid-20s as far as girls out for tennis, and the independent conference that we were in, we were competing against St. Mary's Springs, Oshkosh Lourdes, Clintonville, and St. Mary Central up in Neenah. And yeah, exactly, and virtually none of those schools have enough girls to have a JV program. So, in addition to the travel, we were finding less and less opportunities for our kids to play. So with a little luck and a little research, we found the Capital North was willing to accept us. The WIA classifies us as an independent in tennis, so there was no realignment process for us to have to go through. We just had to get approval from the two existing groups. And the Capital North, which has Lake Mills, Lakeside Lutheran, Lodi, Columbus, Beaver Dam Wayland, Watertown Lutheran Prep, all of those schools have a tennis conference, and they invited us to play with them. So there's varsity and JV levels for both. For most of them, travel is considerably less, obviously, for us. Now I just have to work to find a head tennis coach. So I'm working on that. Ms. Schecker is going to continue as an assistant, but she doesn't want to be the head coach any longer. So I just need to find a tennis coach. And if you know any tennis coaches, I'm all ears. So that's that. Yes, no? No. Okay. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Okay, all right, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Good job on Friday night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. That was wonderful evening. Appreciate it.
That's the biggest crowd we ever had in one of those.
Yeah.
That was great.
That Mr. Mann from way back when, graduated in 1915, I think he had like 12, 13 people from his family.
When I left, he had his 85-year-old son there.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's quite the event. Thank you.
Okay, on the principals, Becky, anything going on?
Yeah, I got mine in pictures again tonight.
Hey.
Yay. So if you, the first slide, I think,
I don't have permission to play one meeting or whatever that means.
I just love our math program, so I snapped a whole bunch more pictures of our kids doing math. So Amy Kranz is up in that upper right-hand corner, and then you can see the second of her classroom lined up. They were measuring the distance from Amy's classroom to the office today in what they were calling adult feet. So I believe they traced Amy's foot, and that is her footprints, that they had made a number of them, and they continued to move by every 3 feet. Every kid got to move some feet forward. They got around the corner at about 45, so I'm thinking the office was probably about 65, 70 feet away, but they were working on that today. Upper right-hand corner are some of our kinder friends. They were working on being able to find matching numbers on the dice that they were rolling and doing some very simple addition. They're right there, they're in a piece of their math program that's called Workplaces. That's that, again, that part in the math program every day where they get to, literally it's playing games, but with that, building that math foundation that those kids get to work with. And as I watch those kinders, I can't wait to see what they're like in first grade next year and what second grade's like and how this is gonna grow with them. And then finally, you got Mr. C in that bottom corner. His class was building a consensogram on just number of Unifix cubes that the kids had in each one of their bags and trying to determine which color was the most distributed throughout all of those bags. So all kinds of different math taking place within the building over these last few weeks. Early childhood, to give you a heads up with early childhood, these are our littlest ones who come out of birth to 3, and then we do an evaluation or a referral, evaluate them to see if they qualify for early childhood services. The way Mrs. Drakowski and Mrs. Klingenmeyer set their program up is they work on a book, and all of the things they do is based on a story. They spend about 2 weeks on a story. Well, the story these last couple weeks is about building castles. So you can see the boxes there. Those kiddos are building castles. And then in the right hand, you see the 2 small children in the tub. They are acting out a book, and they're very big on acting things out, and the kids having to use their words, but they're acting out a story called King Bidgood's in the bathtub. That's exactly what they're doing. So the young man is King Bidgood, and he's beckoning all of his people within the kingdom to come because he's not getting out of his tub. So yes, so that is, again, the EC kids do a lot of acting out of the stories
My kids
as ways.
acted that out in a homeschool show
Well,
once
see,
when they were that
perfect.
little,
Yes.
and Nathan was King Bidgood and stood
Yep.
up in what looked like just a towel. And
Yep, and doing his dance. Yes, they danced in the bathtub at one point.
Yes.
Yes. So that's what happens in early childhood. If you ever want to come, we've got about 8 friends who are there with us on a pretty regular basis throughout the week, having lots of fun in the early childhood room. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's maybe that won't work.
All right, but anyway, this is just a snapshot from our Cardinal Way assemblies. Again, every month we have our assemblies. We have one on Friday. The theme this last one was hot chocolate, so the kids have marshmallows and mugs, and they needed to suck a mini marshmallow using a straw and drop it into the mug and get as many